Okay, we're now going to consider Kripke's case against the description theory of reference as applied to names, or the description theory of names. We're going to go thesis by thesis. So take the first thesis. The first thesis holds that if you possess a name, then you associate some properties of the individual with the name. Or to put it another way, you associate some properties with the thing named. Kripke says that this is true but not very interesting. And think about why. All this says is that any competent user of a name believes something or other about the referent. Well, that seems pretty plausible. If I sort of make up a name out of nowhere, and I say I'm going to name something in my environment right now Schwizzlebat. If you're a competent user of Schwizzlebat, you have to associate something with it. Even if it's just this, that Schwizzlebat is the thing that names the name that Stephen uses to name something in his environment, some particular thing. The point is, if you don't associate any property with the thing named, it doesn't look like you're actually able to use the name. At any rate, since Kripke rejects the description theory of names by rejecting other theses, this one isn't very important, so we can just set it aside. What about thesis 2? One of the properties in phi, or some conjointly, are believed by the individual, the agent, to pick out some referent uniquely, some particular referent uniquely. So here we have Kripke's case against this argument, against this idea. So Green comes along and says, I wonder whether Richard Feynman works at the university. And Green thinks, I believe that Feynman is a famous physicist, but I don't believe much else about him. Well, according to Kripke, Green doesn't believe that Feynman is the only famous physicist. Green may believe that Stephen Hawking or Brian Greene or Albert Einstein are also famous physicists. Or Green may not even know the names of other famous physicists and just may say, I believe that Feynman is a famous physicist. He's the only one I could name, but surely there are others. So Green does not believe that Feynman is the only famous physicist. And consequently, Green doesn't believe that some of the properties that Green associates with Feynman pick out any individual uniquely. Right? Because if the only description Green associates with Feynman is being a famous physicist, and Green believes that lots of people satisfy that description, then Green doesn't believe that the description that Green associates with the name Feynman picks out anyone uniquely. Nonetheless, says Kripke, and this is the crucial moment in Kripke's argument, nonetheless, Green can use the name Feynman to refer to the individual Feynman himself. Why does Kripke think that? Well, here he's just relying on your intuition. So when Green says, I wonder whether Feynman works at the university, and someone comes along and says, well, who's this Feynman guy? And Green says, I don't know, he's some famous physicist I heard about. It seems like the answer, Feynman works at the university, will be correct only if Feynman works at the university. And the answer, Feynman doesn't work at the university, will be correct only if Feynman doesn't work at the university. But if one of those answers is correct and the other one is incorrect, then Green must have been using Feynman to refer to Feynman himself, despite the fact that Green doesn't associate any description with Feynman that could possibly pick him out uniquely. Well, if that's right, then it's false that if one can use a name to refer, then one of the properties or some conjointly are believed by Green to pick out some individual uniquely. That is, thesis 2 is false. So let's run through the argument again. You can rewind and listen to the argument. Everything in the argument was just there. I just want to run through it again in summary now that you've heard it once. So here's the idea. When Green says, I wonder whether Feynman works here, Green is talking about Feynman himself. And the answer, yes, Feynman works here, is a correct answer if the actual person, Richard Feynman, works there. And it's incorrect otherwise. Well, if Green hadn't been referring to Feynman when he said, I wonder whether Feynman works here, then it wouldn't be correct to say yes if the actual individual Richard Feynman works there. And it wouldn't be incorrect to say no if the actual individual Richard Feynman works there. So Green must be referring to Feynman if either of those answers is sensible. Well, those answers are sensible. So Green must be referring to Feynman. But 2 says Green can refer to Feynman only if Green believes that some description Green associates with Feynman is satisfied by Feynman uniquely. Well, Green doesn't believe that. But Green can refer to Feynman anyway. So 2 must be false. Okay, here's another example of the same thing. Green says, I wonder whether Einstein was American. And here's what Green believes about Einstein. I believe that Einstein discovered the theories of relativity, but I don't know much else about him. And the only thing I know about the theory of relativity is that it was discovered by Einstein. So you ask this guy, who is this Einstein that you're wondering about? You're wondering whether he was American. Who is he? And the guy says, well, he's the person who discovered the theory of relativity. And you say, well, what's that theory? And you say, I don't know anything about it. I just know Einstein discovered it. Well, then we're violating that circularity condition. So Green doesn't really associate a satisfactory property with Einstein. That is one that he believes would pick out Einstein uniquely in a non-circular way. Nonetheless, it seems Green is thinking about Einstein, is referring to Einstein successfully with the word Einstein in this sentence, in this question. So according to Kripke in this example, Green believes that Einstein uniquely discovered the theory of relativity, which sounds good, but Green knows of the theory only that Einstein discovered it. So we're violating the circularity condition. Well, says Kripke, Green can still use the name Einstein to refer to Einstein. So given this circularity condition, 2 is false. Now, I want you to think about some of your classmates. So you may know more about Einstein than Green does, but probably some of your classmates don't. Probably some of your classmates know only that he was a famous physicist and that he discovered the theory of relativity. And when asked what that theory is, they'd say, look, I don't know anything about it. I just know Einstein discovered it. Now, here's a question, and I mean this very seriously. When one of your classmates who's in this condition says, Einstein was very smart, have they said something true? Think about it. Did they say something true? Kripke's idea is that intuitively, yes, they did say something true. But if thesis 2 is true, then they didn't say something true. Because when they said Einstein is very smart, the word Einstein in that sentence failed to refer to Einstein because they don't believe that some individual satisfies any description they associate with the name uniquely. So they fail to refer, if thesis 2 is true. But that seems wrong. It seems like they do refer. So thesis 2 is false. Okay. Now comes 3. 3 says if most or a weighted most of those properties are satisfied by some object, then that object is the referent of the name. Now comes one of Kripke's famous and more complex examples. I think I'm going to pause this segment here and make it a short segment. Make it a short segment, and we'll continue with this next time. So otherwise, this video will get to be a bit longer than the 20 minutes that I had suggested would be the limit. Okay, so we'll stop here and continue with this slide next time.